Hi, Bothered Brigade. Here's what's bothering me today. Once again, it's Sunday, so you know what that means. Lots of joy and fun times, right? Actually, no, just more misery and pain and suffering, but there are a few silver linings in some of these stories. Kind of. We'll get to that, but let's just get right into it. Welcome to the Sunday Sum Up, everyone. So first up, a very troubling story from Britain, and it's rather an update to something that has been in Britain for a while now. So apparently over in Britain, citizenship is not a right, it's a privilege, which means before it could be revoked. However, that usually had to be very publicly and under, incredible rare circumstances. That has recently changed. New bill quietly gives powers to remove British citizenship without notice. Clause added to Nationality and Borders Bill also appears to allow Home Office to act retrospectively in some cases. Yeah, folks, Britain is there, and it gets so much worse. Individuals could be stripped of their British citizenship without warning under a proposed rule change quietly added to the Nationality and Borders Bill. Clause 9, notice of decision to deprive a person of citizenship of the bill, which was updated earlier this month, exempts the government from having to give notice if it is not reasonably practicable to do so, or in the interests of national security, diplomatic relations, or otherwise in the public interest. Well, that can be a little bit of a gray area of what's defined as reasonably practicable to do so. This is all done quietly, yet technically out in the open. It was just, very hush-hush. No need to worry about what the British government is doing. Like, this has all the trappings of just kind of getting worse from here, and specifically targeting migrants, which some critics of this bill have rightfully pointed out. Francis Weber, the vice chair of the Institute of Race Relations, said, "This amendment sends the message that certain citizens, despite being born and brought up in the UK and having no other home, remain migrants in this country. Their citizenship, and therefore all their rights, are precarious and contingent." And that is so messed up. But, I don't know, clearly Britain took the memo from America about how to treat migrants there or something, because this is just absolutely terrible. You see the same thing in America, right, of people where they're basically raised in the United States. They know no other home, but oh no, gotta go back to Mexico or wherever other country that their parents came from. And it's just so jarring. And so here again in Britain, you are seeing people who are born and raised in Britain, but their rights are in a far more precarious position if they or their parents immigrated to Britain. It is supremely messed up. Think about how easily this could be abused, right? Oh, look, they went overseas to visit their family, either for happy reasons, oh, I haven't seen the family in a while, or my mother or my grandmother is dying back in the home country, gotta go. And the British government decides, we kind of don't like this person for whatever reason, either their skin color, their religion, they said something bad about the government, whatever, BS reason it could end up being. Oh, look at that. While they're overseas, it's a really good time to use the whole, we can't notify them in a reasonable time frame, so we're just going to quietly strip away their citizenship, and then they try and come back and, oh no, sorry, you don't have citizenship, so you're trapped here in the airport, or you need to go back to your country. And, I know there's already probably some people watching this and hearing what I just said and thinking, okay, that seems a little extreme. That's not going to happen, right? I mean, one would hope not if we lived in a sensible society, but I don't think we do anymore. And also, remember how a while ago I complained about other things like Biden's new update to what counts as domestic terrorism, and including things like activists on there and how that would be abused, and people said, oh, come on, bothered boy, that seems a little extreme, that's not going to happen. And then recently it actually fucking happened. I remind people that this is our first story, which, I guess we gotta now move to the other stories, which are mostly from America. But yeah, it is just so frustrating to see Britain copy America in the worst ways possible. So moving on to America, let's just get some of the horribleness right out of the way, which means, I guess, unfortunately, we have to talk about Madison Cawthorn for a few minutes. Madison Cawthorn recently went viral for a lot of his statements on why Roe v. Wade should be overturned. And so here is the video in question.
Madam Speaker, imagine you've just walked out of this chamber, and outside is a gorgeous sunset. You have a Polaroid camera, and you snap a beautiful picture, and the great photo prints out the front. You hold it and shake it, waiting for the picture to appear. But suddenly, someone walks by and snatches your photo, ripping it to shreds. You're stunned. You cry, why did you destroy my picture? the person replies, "Oh, it wasn't a picture. It wasn't fully developed yet." All of us in this room realize how asinine that reasoning is. That photo was transforming into a beautiful image. This illustration by Seth Gruber is simple, but it's what our nation has done to the most precious image of all, the image of God. Madam Speaker, a silent genocide has slipped beneath the conscience of America. Precious works of our Creator, formed and set apart, meet death before they breathe life. Eternal souls woven into earthen vessels, sanctified by Almighty God and endowed with the miracle of life, are denied their birth by a nation that was born in freedom. God's breath of life blown away by the breath of man. This cruel and fallen world may seem too filthy for their very presence, but these precious temples are crafted in the image of God himself. One day, perhaps when science darkens the soul of the left, our nation will repent. But until then, the carnage of this unconscionable deed will stain the fabric of our nation. I hope that the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade. I hope that we stop the genocide of abortion in this country. With that, I yield back.
Holy crap, where to even start? So fetuses are not like pictures, and also the whole point of Roe v. Wade is to give women, the choice and the bodily autonomy, something which you love to defend men and women for when they're about like, oh, my body, my choice when it comes to vaccine mandates. So there's a double standard right there. However, again, crucially, it's like, oh yeah, like there's a picture of a beautiful sunset. That doesn't necessarily have an impact on your life the way pregnancy does in America, where the, maternity mortality rate is very high, which we're getting to in a hot second. And also the fact that no one suddenly forces a violent sunset upon you, but pregnancy can result from a variety of terrible, awful deeds. And the whole, oh, you destroyed my picture. Well, it wasn't fully developed yet. So again, dude, let's talk about how fetuses formed and what's considered a heartbeat. There are several other people who have done, a way better job explaining this on all kinds of different platforms. So I'm going to leave that to them. However, this is a point that has been very much debunked by this point in time, but it shows that this is where they're still operating from, is like this very infantile understanding of, oh no, so you destroyed my picture, it wasn't fully developed yet. The sunset's still there, you could take another picture. So that shows that this analogy just doesn't fucking work, but I wouldn't expect any less from a Republican man who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
That photo was transforming into a beautiful image. This illustration by Seth Gruber is simple, but it's what our nation has done to the most precious image of all, the image of God.
So if children are the image of God, does that mean you're going to actually support the children who continue to be imprisoned at the border and put in cages? Or is that different because they're not American children?
Madam Speaker, a silent genocide has slipped beneath the conscience of America.
It's not a silent genocide, oh my fucking god. Genocide is the targeting of ethnic groups and their attempted systemic annihilation. So, and that is in terms of either like replacing them, displacing them, eradicating them wholeheartedly. Like there are several different ways, culturally, there are several different ways that genocide can occur. Abortion is not that.
Eternal souls woven into earthen vessels, sanctified by Almighty God and endowed with the miracle of life, are denied their birth by a nation that was born in freedom.
So real quick, women are not earthen vessels, but again, given, right-wing talking points, unfortunately, yeah, they objectify women, like, But the second point of that, at the very end there, a nation born in freedom. Terms and conditions fucking apply. Most of the lovely founding fathers there you love to fawn over very much had slaves. Oh, also, there's the fact that it's all on top of indigenous land, so
God's breath of life blown away by the breath of man.
God's breath of life blown away by the breath of man. So in that case, what's up with your earlier statement about, oh, in the image of God, right? Well then, if man is created in the image of God, then man is basically acting like God, so it's all part of God's plan. Like, where are you going with this? Oh, right, nowhere, because none of this makes any goddamn sense.
This cruel and fallen world may seem too filthy for their very presence, but these precious temples are crafted in the image of God himself.
Again, the objectification of women, their temples. So then actually respect them for once in your goddamn life. Oh my god.
One day, perhaps when science darkens the soul of the left, our nation will repent. But until then, the carnage of this unconscionable deed will stain the fabric of our nation. I hope that the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade. I hope that we stop the genocide of abortion in this country. With that, I yield back.
Like, this man is an absolute fucking idiot. So I guess this means I have to talk about the second part of this story, right? So we've already talked before about how Republicans are just really trying to gun for the whole overturning Roe v. Wade thing now. The Supreme Court has said that they're open to hearing it. This brings us to Justice Amy Coney Barrett. And so Amy recently was basically saying, in the defense of her argument for why we should consider overturning Roe v. Wade, if you can give up your baby when it's born, why does forcing a woman to go through pregnancy affect her life at all? Which goes back to that point that I kind of blew over about how the US has the highest maternal mortality rate in the world. France and Canada are in second and third place respectively, but it's like half the number of the US. So that's just in terms of the immediate life-threatening aspect. Let's talk a little bit more about how America does not properly support mothers, especially if they're single mothers. They don't support childcare, education, healthcare, anything like that. So, is it any wonder why a lot of people can't afford to have kids? Because that's a cost that is simply skyrocketing these days. People aren't being paid enough or living securely enough that they can even afford to responsibly bring up a child in the world. And it doesn't matter what women do, they are villainized for whatever they choose to do. Oh, well, you know what? I gotta make ends meet. I'm gonna be a sex worker. How dare you? You fucking whore. Dude, that's bad. You have a child. You should do better. The mother works so often she can't spend time with her kids. Oh, geez, you need to spend more time with your kids. Like, which one is it, asshole? Because she's got to try and, make ends meet. But, oh, look, you've basically forced her to have this child because, oh, otherwise it's bad. You limit options for abortion and actual family planning, which forces people, whether they're young or not, into situations they don't necessarily want to or are able to financially be in. You don't offer them supports. You, in fact, denigrate people who need any kind of financial support whatsoever because, oh, come on, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's all so ridiculous, and it just shows a stunning level of ignorance on the right. And speaking of stunning ignorance from the right wing in America, I guess that brings us to our next story. A new Texas law prohibits teacher-prompted discussions on a widely debated and currently controversial issue of public policy or social affairs in the classroom. But it doesn't define what a controversial issue is. Deliberately putting in gray areas like that open it up to personal interpretation, which is always colored by our bias and is therefore a goddamn problem. It's basically, oh no, this is all about critical race theory. And if teachers decide to prompt it, that's bad. Will that still be applied if, say, the students decide to prompt it on their own? Who knows? But it's basically the conservative, we love freedom and freedom of speech government of Greg Abbott in Texas, basically saying, here are things you can't say or talk about in the classroom. By the way, we totally believe in freedom of speech. It is so fucking absurd. Hey kids, do you want to try and understand a little bit more about why the world is the way it is and why things feel so messed up? Not allowed in good old freedom-loving Texas, apparently. Oh, and on the subject of freedom, and also touching on, why life is important, made in the image of Almighty God, I guess we need to talk now about Representative Ilhan Omar a little bit. So, as a lot of people know, Ilhan Omar has been attacked recently by Lauren Boebert, for really dumb reasons, but what you expect from Lauren. But recently, Representative Omar shared a very vitriolic and hate-filled voicemail that she received. From the recount, Representative Ilhan Omar plays a horrific death threat she received following Representative Lauren Boebert's recent Islamophobic attacks on her. Warning, it's incredibly graphic.
I'm going to play you a voicemail that we received hours after I got off the phone with Representative Boebert after she posted her video.
We see you Muslims saying nigger bitch. We know what you're up to. You're all about taking over the country. Don't worry, there's plenty that will love the opportunity to take you off the face of the fucking earth. Come get it, but you fucking Muslim piece of shit, you jihadist. We know what you are. You're a fucking traitor. You will not live much longer, bitch. I can almost guarantee you that we the people are rising up, and you will be tried for a military tribunal, and you will be found guilty.
For those of you who did not hear it very well, let me read you what the voicemail says. We see you, sand N-word bitch. We know what you are up to. You are all about taking over our country. Don't worry, there is plenty that would love the opportunity to take you off the face of this effing earth. Come get it. But you are effing Muslim piece of shit. You are jihadist. We know what you are. You are effing traitor, and you will not live any longer. Condemning this should not be a partisan issue. This is about our basic humanity and fundamental rights of religious freedom enshrined in our Constitution.
Yeah, that definitely gets a yikes from me, but unfortunately, that's just kind of par for the course for so many people who are minorities in America right now. Death threats are just part of the equation, which again, to, go back to Madison Cawthorn there, does the right to life and freedom also apply to women and just other people in general, even if they're non-white and non-Christian? Or is that too woke? And I'm talking about critical race theory for y'all. Honestly, the shit Representative Omar puts up with on a daily basis is just absolutely astounding. Let's be real here. If she said or did similar things to Lauren or any other Republicans, she would be immediately condemned by the vast majority of Congress and the media. But when it happens to her, there's basically silence. Which, that's part of why we do this, right? This whole thing, this channel, bringing attention to these issues, which again, thank you all for being here. And I see the comments of, oh, thank you. I've actually learned a lot from here. Thank you for talking about things that people aren't talking about. So I do, again, really appreciate having all of you here. Also, it was only recently we hit 3,000 and now there's 3,100. Apparently people want more of the suffering, I guess. We're all just laughing as the Titanic sinks or something. I don't know, but I appreciate having y'all here. Thanks for being here. And so on that note, we have some lighter stories. They're still dark and terrifying. Come on, it wouldn't be the Sunday Summit without that, am I right? But they're definitely lighter fare after some of these just soul-crushing stories from the past week. So apparently, recently, Mark Cuban bought a small town in Texas just because, which as good politic guy Mac points out, people are sleeping on the streets in the US while billionaires casually buy entire towns. I wonder what the purpose of wealthy people buying entire towns is. Maybe they're planning for something. I wonder what it is. And people still like to pretend like America doesn't have an aristocracy. Come on. It'd be nice if you bought the entire small town to take care of everyone's needs in that small town, but I don't think that's what's gonna happen. Speaking of other terrible things in American dystopia, there was this lovely revelation from NPR recently. Debt collectors can now text, email, or contact you on social media to seek repayment under new rules approved by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I'm sure these people feel so protected now that debt collectors can contact them in a variety of ways. I'm just imagining now someone taking a selfie of just, self-care Sunday, and then underneath is you owe us $15,000, Samantha. A part of that is funny, but also deeply dystopian. Oh, and then the last kind of, it's a sign of dystopia, but also kind of funny in a really absurdist way. Hawaii is under a winter storm watch. A freaking blizzard in Hawaii. The end of the world might be sooner than I expected. Yup. But yeah, apparently we've broken the planet so much that Hawaii is under a winter storm watch. I remind people that Hawaii is a tropical chain of islands literally smack dab in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Maybe we need to stop and fix the planet? Which brings us to another climate change related story, and finally up here north of the border to Canada. So as a lot of people have no doubt heard, there's been just a ton of flooding and terrible rainfall throughout BC recently that has resulted in washed out highways, flooded towns, mass evacuations. It has been an unmitigated climate emergency over there. And this comes on top of the other climate emergency just a few months ago with the heat dome and all the wildfires. I wonder if this will be a recurring theme. But in the case of people on social media completely losing the plot and missing the forest for the trees, there was the following tweet. Kudos to the staff and inmates at mountain and mission institutions who filled over 6,000 sandbags to help with the BC floods. These sandbags went directly to help local communities in need. Which maybe on, some surface level is, oh yeah, look, see, helping out community. Here's the problem, right? That's basically prison labor, which is pennies a day. It's practically slavery. Which, as Joy Henderson accurately points out, kudos to slave labor, we were able to protect wealthy white people's property on unceded indigenous land, I might add. Thanks, capitalism, for using slave labor to help try and prevent further damage that is happening because of you and your system. I don't want a time machine. I want a timeline machine because I want out of this timeline. Seriously, there's another timeline out there where Bernie's president, like Taco Tuesday is a national day or something like that. And sure, things probably still suck, but they suck a little less. I just want the Taco Tuesday timeline. But again, returning to the subject of climate change and Canada's action, or rather inaction on the file. I've said it before and I've said it, just way too many times about the Liberal government and buying pipelines. But there was a recent piece in the Toronto Star which shows just how much work needs to be done in the next 15 years. 12 nuclear plants, 113 dams, that's how much Canada is short of its green energy needs, report says. According to the report published Wednesday by the think tank Clean Energy Canada, the country needs to roughly double the amount of clean electricity it produces to fulfill the government's goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to net zero before 2050. Which, like the title says, means a massive increase, like a staggering amount of new plants or dams need to be built in order to hit these targets that they've supposedly set. The Liberals literally made a pledge to try and get Canada's electricity grid run entirely on non-emitting power sources by 2035. Which, if they want to do that, they need to set the regulations before 2023. And I remind people that 2022 is less than a month away. So they basically have less than 2 years to try and get the ball rolling on this. They'd probably have an ally, in fact, several allies in the Green Party, as well as, the NDP. But I don't think this is going to happen because they're probably going to push for another election and try and get a majority when it's suitable for them. Oh, by the way, how are those pipelines coming along that you keep buying and financing and supporting? Oh, and how can I forget about the 1 billion trees you said you were going to plant? How's that coming along? So yeah, unfortunately, there's no way the government does the investment that is needed because that just gives the Conservatives ammo of this Liberal spending is just completely out of control, even though it would create jobs and help save the planet and create greener sources of energy, but whatever. Oh, and I also remind people of that story from back in April or something that showed that various ministers or deputy ministers from government ministries met with big business and the banks and the oil and gas lobby to sort of hash out what the post-pandemic recovery would look like and how they'd be involved. And this touches on another point that I've made before that actually makes me controversial in a lot of green and leftist circles, which is that if we want to still have enough actual electrical energy to transition while also allowing the newly industrializing world or the global south, whatever term developing countries, whatever term you choose to identify people outside of the West, if we want them to still be able to have increasing standards of living and infrastructure, that, if we want to avoid emissions, means we also need to be serious about funding them and their electrical grids, which means we need to look at nuclear as well as renewables in these countries. If we want to hit our green energy targets, we are so behind thanks to conservative inaction under Stephen Harper and liberal inaction under Justin Trudeau that we need the 12 nuclear plants or 113 dams. Quite frankly, I think 12 nuclear plants is the easier sell in terms of cost and damage to environment and indigenous land, but that's not to say it still isn't damaging, right? This is the scale of the problem, and just letting it go on for so long, just kicking the can down the road, has resulted in this terrible choice we're faced with. It's so unfortunate, and it was all entirely avoidable. And speaking of things that are entirely avoidable, let's talk about racism and police brutality in Canada. Yes, the final cherry on top of today's video is a reminder that ACAB applies even north of the border. 5 Quebec City police officers suspended after video shows violent treatment of black youth. So, it actually happened last week and I didn't find out about it until this week, but basically, outside of a nightclub in Quebec City, 2 different black youth were very violently arrested, and we know it because of the videos that were taken. I'm not going to share the videos because they're pretty distressing, but in one of the videos, the young man is being kicked and punched by police and also has snow kicked in his face while he's already face down in the snow already. Another black woman is being dragged by her hair at one point by officers. Gee, I wonder if Quebec cops have a racism problem. Now, it's good that, in the wake of this coming out, people were very serious about undertaking an investigation, which is still ongoing. But in the meantime, the officers are suspended, with pay, of course, as one does. Details are still emerging, but basically, it really seems like they were victims of racial profiling. But another part of the story is something else that hasn't really been reported on too much, except in the CBC article, which I, took the screen cap of earlier. Apparently that same night, 3 of the officers involved in the incident were also involved in a violent clash at an Italian restaurant just the same evening. So there's a separate internal investigation going on into that. But, hey, maybe these cops in particular have issues and maybe shouldn't be cops. Maybe we should actually really dive into the nature of policing and who becomes the police, and if they're even worthy of truly being public servants, if you can even call them that anymore. Which I guess kind of brings us to the question behind all of these terrible stories. We can recognize these problems, but how do we fix it? Especially when actually trying to fix it in terms of education doesn't really work, right? Madison Cawthorn living in just really weird and creepy Christian ignorance. The threats that Lauren Boebert can casually make to Ilhan Omar, that, she then receives vitriolic death threats, and there's not a peep from Congress or the media trying to talk about this in terms of critical race theory and evaluating the actual history of America, hell, even here in Canada. And it's, oh, this is terrible, this is woke scolding or whatever, so we're gonna ban it. Yes, we totally believe in free speech. It's, how do you fight back against that? How do you investigate the cops when they're the ones who are investigating themselves? Can you even trust such a process? The government of Canada that cares about climate change is also buying pipelines and working with the oil and gas sector to figure out what the post-pandemic economic recovery looks like and having them involved in it, including the greenification. How do we fight back against this? How do you fight back against Britain potentially arbitrarily revoking the citizenship of ethnic minorities? How do you stop wealthy billionaires from just buying small towns just because? How do you get the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to actually protect consumers? If teachers in an official education capacity can't actually educate, how can we do the educate part of the IWW's AEIOU, right? Which is agitate, educate, inoculate, organize, and unionize. How can we educate if our actual educators are being barred from educating because people don't like what that education may say? And I know this feels like a depressing end, but I want to offer a little bit of hope. Generally speaking, when times get tough, communities come together. We've seen that with the BC floods. We saw that in the early days of the pandemic when people were trying to retool to help people in the immediate oh God, what's happening? There's a pandemic happening. What do we do? People tended, even though we had to be physically apart, there was still a push for greater community cohesion. People getting into streaming or podcasting or being a YouTuber and trying to educate people that way. Reading clubs and book clubs are making a comeback now, and people are reading theory. They're, talking with other people, including outside of their main demographic. People in Minneapolis, instead of calling police, they're calling each other to try and build community safety networks and neighborhood watches. There are other different forms of alternate policing that are being explored, especially in Indigenous communities. Humans are just incredibly creative and problem-solving creatures. We often create a lot of our own problems, don't get me wrong. And while I don't think we have all the answers yet, the fact is that there are countless humans out there trying to find the answers and trying to find ways around a broken system. This is the oldest story in humanity, the story of struggling with the world that they're interacting with and trying to find a way to make it work for them. So while all these stories are terrible and it kind of can leave one feeling hopeless, let's not forget that there are people out there still trying to find answers and solutions to these and finding ways of doing it outside of that system while still helping people, educating people, organizing people, bettering their communities, helping to provide food security for people. This is very real work that is happening, and that is a reason why we should be hopeful. But the fact that these stories all still exist, that they're very real, that is definitely what's bothering me today.